welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And let me tell you, today we're shining the spotlight on Petra Williams, who had the honor of representing Antigua and Barbuda in the 2024 edition of the China International Press Communication Center Program, organized by China Public Diplomacy Association, CPDA. And this incredible initiative brought together over 100 journalists from 87 countries to learn about China's development, culture, and global initiative, like the Belt and Road. And Petra, let me just say thank you for being here with us. I want you to tell them, when we met in the hallway this morning, what did I, how the conversation happened? How you go?
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, everybody.
Oh, okay.
Ni hao. I'm making it simple.
So, ni hao. So what did I try and say?
I don't know.
But I did the bow.
I don't know what was that either.
Petra, I'm try, Petra.
Just smile and say hello.
Yeah, but you...
Try to speak some language. I suspect he was trying to speak for China.
Hey.
Next time, just say Oshi.
Oshi.
And then say your name. And
Steve.
That's easy.
Oh. Okay. So next time I say Oshi, Steve. All right. Well, Petra, congratulations representing Antigua and Barbuda in the 2024 CIPCC program. Now, how were you selected for this prestigious initiative, and what is like knowing you represented Antigua and Barbuda?
Well, first, let me say to Terry Andrew from ABS, good morning. Everywhere I went, and any of the people who would have been there from before, I said, I'm Petra Williams from Antigua. They said, oh, hi, tell Terry hello. So I have to tell Terry Andrews hello. Let me do that first. My selection process was very interesting. I was at Calypso show, I think, last carnival. Mm-hmm. Yes, when I got a call asking me if I'm interested. It was literally at Calypso competition last year.
Your favorite type of carnival?
My favorite things. And I got a call asking me if I'd be interested in this program. And of course, my first response on hearing 4 months was, you're crazy? No. And then the next day, the conversation went a little further. I was put in touch with the people from the Chinese embassy. Some more details were given. Then I spoke to my chief operations officer, manager, and director. And yes, I decided to go.
All right. And you just felt good representing Antigua and Barbuda?
It was a pleasure. It was an absolute, of course, I am over with the Antigua and Barbuda thing, but yes, it was a pleasure.
All right. So the program lasted for 4 months, as we know about. So can you give us an overview of its main features and structure?
So in essence, the program was about experiencing China, learning how China operates, seeing how China does business, seeing how the people of China go about their day-to-day lives, and then being afforded the opportunity to share your feedback, your thoughts, your experiences about what you experienced. Okay. In essence, that's just a summary. I got to be the best thing ever, a spectator. But, sweet. 4 months, sweet, bad.
Yeah, but you're the art of the spectator.
Exactly. The China tell me come spectate.
So what was a typical day for you like during the program?
A typical day, in essence, the group of 100 plus of us would be exposed to different activities and events. So there'd be days when we would have what we call lecture sessions, where we were taught, where they brought in persons who shared with us China's economy, China's society, the history of China. We learned some of the language, don't ask me about that part. We experienced the culture. And then there were other days when we went on the field, where we visited companies and enterprises. So we were able to see like how China constructs things, experience China's advancement in AI and technology, which is phenomenal. Experience China as a tourist, visit a lot of their historic and cultural sites. And then, of course, there was the traveling. I went to about 6 provinces, and I can't even tell you how many cities. So a typical day was just go out and experience things. We also got to attend the FOCAC, which was the China-Africa Summit, which is a significant, huge component of what China does with the rest of the world. And there was also one for the Caribbean. And China attempted to show us a bit of their impressions of Carnival.
Okay.
Yes.
So the
Very
Belt
true.
and Road Initiative is a major component of China's global strategy. How did this initiative tie into the program, and how is it presented to all the different journalists like yourself?
I'd want to talk about the Belt and Road, by just looking back at Antigua for 30 seconds. When you look across the length and breadth of Antigua, we've had engagements with the US, Britain, Canada, Germany, name all the international countries. What can you look across Antigua and see that has been left or that is there as evidence of our engagement with them, our developments? I start there because the Belt and Road basically is China's, what they call it, is their second Silk Road. So in the early days, the Silk Road was designed to be a linkage, linking Asia together in terms of facilitating trade. And what the Belt and Road does is that China's investment in the rest of the world, particularly the developing countries, they call it the South-South Cooperation, to ensure that these countries develop. So for example, in the case of Antigua and Barbuda, we have their investment in the stadium, in the airport, and in the seaport, not only giving us grants, but also facilitating us through lower interest loans. And during our trip to China, we were able to meet with some of the companies who would have done this investment, not only in Antigua, but I mean, what we have in Antigua is a drop in the bucket compared to what happens across the globe and even in the Caribbean. And also, we were able to see the plans for China as it modernizes, because it's now entered the phase of modernization, and how they plan to continue through the Belt and Road to be intentional in how they assist us, the other developing countries.
Oh, wow. I'm seeing the pictures, seeing the videos. I know you visited all sorts of places. Now, what particular site that you guys visited that stood out to you the most?
Most times when I went out, I always looked at everything from an Antigua and Barbuda perspective. And we went to visit the home and the museum attributed to their first premier of China, Zhou Enlai. And that stood out to me because for some reason, everything I saw, or most things, not everything, most things I saw reminded me of our father of the nation. Every time I say that, people say, what? So Zhou Enlai, the first premier of China, he was very people-centered and people-centric. And in an era in China when there was a lot of changes and transition happening, there was a lot of revolutionary impacts. There were even things that impacted on the Chinese people themselves negatively. Zhou Enlai set out to act as the protector of his people, even within his own party, where times there would have been conflicts that led to, fallouts, which in those parts of the world can be very, very serious and grave. The most outstanding feature for him was in his hometown, where when he left, he never went back until maybe, when he left as a child, he never went back for many decades. When he finally returned, he observed that the city, in his honor and in his family's honor, had put the tombstones in memory of his parents and his aunts who raised him and so on, in the middle of an agricultural district and center in a very arable land, which he felt could have better served the people for agriculture. You know what he did? Tell him, take them up, move everything, clear the whole something, and put it back into productive use. And for me, that signals to me that, this is when you really put people first. And many of us, in politics and so on, we like to say, people first, people first. But when it's really, really crunch time, you don't demonstrate. And for me, the work of Zhou Enlai, the first premier of China, was the absolute amazing signal.
With all this, what takeaways or lesson that you got from all this that would or should be relevant to us here in Antigua Barbuda?
I'd want to share 3 very quickly. I think I've got about 20, but I'll share 3. First of all, I went to China 23 years ago, and I was in Beijing for an extended period. I have all the photos, so I made sure I took them back with me when I went back to Beijing. And the Beijing I saw today was totally different to the China of 23 years ago. And it's in large part because of their intentional development. They develop plans, national plans for development. They stick to them, they revise them. And you can see over time, they have, within the 23 years, there were 5 development plans. I went looking. And you can actually tick off where they have made progress. And I'll give you some examples. Back then, China was very smoggy. Sorry, Beijing in particular, smoggy, very not so clean. Today, Beijing is almost spotless. You see those small bins that we have in the city? The bins in China, in Beijing, I have to make sure because different things in different provinces. The bins in Beijing are similar. They're the very same size, those tiny bins, very well kept. The city itself is spotless. What they do different to what we do, instead of having the cleaners early in the morning only, because we have cleaners early in the morning, do a very good job, they have cleaners continuous. The bins are cleaned continuously throughout the day. The cleaners are always there, and so there is always that emphasis on keeping the city clean. So that's 2, the intentional development, and that. They also incorporate across China their cultural studies, their traditions, and so on, into school, into their school curriculum. I remember going to Beishang, the Beishang Primary School in Jilin, and the abacus. I'm trying to remember what that is, the abacus. Hopscotch. They're trying to tell me about hopscotch and skipping. They are part of what they do inside of their curriculum. Not in PE, these are courses that they study. And so I know in many of our schools, we do that, like if the school principal or the administrator wants to do it. These are intentional things. And why is that important? Because then you see the value played out in their tourism product, in their entertainment. Another thing that I wanted to add very quickly, because I know at home here, when we hear China, we think it's all work, mostly work, and no play. They play. They entertain. They relax. The very things we do here, it was a party. I think those are the things perhaps I wanted to talk about in terms of what we can take on board. Not the party side, we don't have that locked, but how we incorporate the culture and so on into their curriculum, their intentional approach to development and national planning, and how they address the issues of sanitation and engineering and the use of technology.
So how can we use what you learn here to tighten what we have with China?
I think one of the most important things for me in terms of tightening our relationship with China is that they have offered us extensive opportunities to come and see, to come and participate. I know we have a very extensive agricultural exchange and development with them. And I'd just perhaps like to see us in Antigua and Barbuda become more intentional in not only accessing the programs, but then utilizing what we learn in Antigua and Barbuda.
So I know the program talk about different cultures and everything, 80-something, over 100 journalists from 87 countries. So how did all that different cultures tie into what China was doing?
Well, let's start with Antigua and Barbuda culture first. By the time I was ready to leave, at least 3 restaurants understood that when they see me walk into the restaurant, just turn on Antigua music because they have to play. When they see the Caribbean crew come in, they have to play different Caribbean music because it was important to us that as much as we absorb their culture, they absorb ours. I think the most other interesting thing for me in terms of the cultural exchange was my first time engaging with so many Africans in one place and getting to have discussions with them about things, for example, as how we got enslaved, their impressions of the Caribbean, understanding that there is really a lot about each other that we still need to learn. And it was also interesting that although, for example, Cuba and the Dominican Republic, we consider them part of the Caribbean, whenever we travel, they're included in Latin America because of the language and also because of the similarities in the culture. But then it was also an opportunity for all us to blend and learn and come together.
So how has this impacted you personally?
Well, it further lit the travel bug. You know how that goes. But I think the most important impact for me is a further appreciation of other people's culture. One, it was an opportunity to get a better appreciation of China, how China really relates to us. And I'll say that from this in terms of my experience. Yesterday at church, one of my church colleagues said, "You went China? Me afraid up there." them politics, and I was like, think about it really. When we travel, do we really engage in the politics of any of the countries we go to?
Nope.
So then we get so obsessed and caught up with China because of what we hear. We get so obsessed and caught up with Africa
because of
what we hear, as opposed to giving them an opportunity to share with us and to see so many positives and the beauty of all the countries around the world, and to understand one very important thing. We're all more alike than we think. We're all of us, Chinese, Africans, Latinos, Asia Pacific, my Russian friends, everybody. You know, we used to tease Russia about the war, and he was a defender, and we had to listen to him explain. We had to listen to the Africans and the Latinos explain why Trump made sense. That was rough for us in the Caribbean. But we listened, and we appreciated, and we understood. We had to understand, we had to listen to China explain its side of trade and how it works. We had to appreciate why prices coming out of China is so low, because there's so many of them. And so the economies of scale is totally different. Imagine taking a train. For those of us who travel to the US, we know a train ride is $3 US. A train ride in China, similar or more, is 14 US cents. 14 cents.
Cents?
14. I can prove it. I have because I paid for it on my phone. I have
14 US cents.
Yes.
14 cents, not $14.
Yes. Imagine going to Universal Studios, which you've gone to in the US, and going to the same rides and everything in China, and it's costing a fraction of what you pay in the US. Going to the China Open, seeing the likes of Coco Gauff and all of those people, and paying a fraction of what you would pay to go to the US Open, which I've also been to. So it was a really, really good global experience for me. I think I got a little more tolerant in terms of being able to appreciate and accept things. And I also became perhaps a little more militant. You don't need me no more militant. Yeah, the hat is not for that. But I got a little more militant in terms of wanting to see my country use its resources better. Because while I was in China, there were things that we actually have already done that they are now seeking to do as part of their national development. Making sure there's a school within a certain proximity to every community. We did that many decades ago with a primary school in every village. This is now something they're striving to as part of their national plan. The whole issue of health and so on, these are things that they're striving to. One of their major things that I'd like to see us do more for is what they do for their elderly. Their health, the engagement, making them more comfortable. I mean, we do a lot for our elderly one-on-one, but in terms of now building communities for them to be a part of, that was something I saw in China that I'd love to be part of that process.
All right. Well, before we go, finally, what message you would like to share with young journalists or aspiring leaders in Antigua and Barbuda who may just be inspired by your journey, and what message do you have for viewers watching today who are also inspired by your journey?
I think the most important thing I'd like to share with all of Antigua and Barbuda is live. Life comes fast, it comes quick. I think while I was in China looking on Antigua, every day I get up, somebody dead. Somebody dead, somebody dead, somebody dead, somebody dead. And there were people who died that I had plans to come back and share with. And so I think the most important thing I wanted to tell us, live. Experience, explore. Do not be held back by the things that you think might fear. There's only one way you're going to know. Try. If you never try, you never fail. But more importantly, you never succeed. Steve, you know about that.
I know
right?
about that.
I also want to tell our people that it's important to grow, to study, to pursue whatever path it is that you want. Pursue it relentlessly. You fail, it's okay. Get up and try again. Because for me, media and all of this was never anything that I had any intentions to do. I started sharing about the economy with my people, and then sharing my love of culture and sports and all of that. And it has taken me not only to China, which was my best trip ever, but last year it also took me to World Cup finals. It allowed me to go with Morning Amir, go with to CPL, the inaugural CPL in St. Kitts. And I'd like to take this opportunity also, I can't finish without saying that, to thank Chet, Minister Chet Green, Foreign Affairs Minister, my friend, so I can say Chet. He and I fight plenty, but whenever opportunities avail themselves, he will call, and I'm happy to serve. And I want to thank him very much for supporting this opportunity for me. And yeah, Antigua, just be your best selves. And I'm happy to have represented you. And I'm sorry, from the Africans and the Caribbean people, especially Barbados, shout out to Witzman. Witzman song that took over.
Okay. Well, Petra, thank you. We'll be speaking to Petra Williams, the author, spectator, who became a spectator and who enjoyed representing Antigua Barbuda in China. And as she said, live. Try things and stop have this fear in your mind that no, I can't, and no, I won't. And stop think that, oh, I don't have money, I can't do it. You can. Just live. Thank you, Petra. Stay with us, folks. We've got more coming up right here on Antigua Barbuda today. Yeah, live.